With the shift in the balance of power that's coming to the state capitol in January, legislators who represent different parts of our population are hoping to get a bigger voice. Well, here to talk a little bit about that are State Representative Joe Salazar and newly elected State Senator Julie Gonzalez. So thank you both for being here. I know you were both part of a group that put together a memo for Governor-elect Polis to give him some ideas of what expectations are for the Latino caucus. What are your expectations in this new regime?
I defer to the senator-elect on expectations, and then I can go from there.
Absolutely. You know, we are so excited because when we come into session in January, we will have a historic number of Latino elected leaders in both the House and the Senate. For the first time in Colorado history, we'll have 14 members of our General Assembly who come from the Latino community, which I'm really excited about because it represents a high watermark for our community, and yet we still have a lot more work to do to achieve parity. Latino community members make up more than 20% of our population, so we've still got some work to do, but it's a historic moment that should be celebrated. And not only does that representation matter, we then want to follow up and make sure that we're passing policies that directly impact and benefit the people we represent across the state of Colorado.
So the voices are there. So what policies would you like to see implemented or at least considered as we look forward?
Go ahead, Seth.
So you know, here's where I've always been at when I came into office in 2013. It's not just the numbers, it's what you do with those numbers.
Right.
Because we had at that point in 2013, we had the largest number of Latinos and African Americans in the history of the state of Colorado, and now we've been surpassed by that in 2018, which is exactly how it's supposed to happen, right? We're supposed to build on these numbers. But because we had the large numbers that we did, and we said it's not just about the numbers, it's about what we do with it. We moved really hard in 2013 to protect communities of color, to pass really good immigration policies. We passed the asset bill, we passed driver's licenses, got rid of Senate Bill 90, which was you know, basically state-sanctioned racial profiling. We got rid of that and had some positive effects on the state of Colorado. And then we moved forward with a disparity study bill that we could not get out of both chambers, despite the fact that Democrats held both chambers and the governor's seat at the time. So what we expect is that we expect, with the large number of people who are coming in with a Democratic governor, with all constitutional seats being Democratic, we expect policies that will represent our communities. Because when you bring policies...
And I guess I'm asking, what specifically are you talking about? What do you have in mind?
And so, you know, to build off of Representative Salazar's perspective, you know, we come to this work knowing that you have to lift as you continue to climb. And so we know right now that Coloradans, we're in a lot of parts of our state enjoying economic prosperity, and yet there are parts of our state that still, you know, southern Colorado, for instance, where the unemployment rate is still unacceptably high, right? So we've got to do work
high poverty
to address those issues, right? Here in Denver, I represent Northwest and downtown Denver, and you know, looking at the rates of affordability, both for homeowners and for renters, right? Like those kinds of issues that not only impact Latinos, they impact everyone equally. But then when you look at how those impact then communities of color, you know, where the rising cost of living is skyrocketing, you're seeing more and more families who may not have generational wealth, which is something that persists as an issue within the Latino community, continuing to suffer, right? And so it's like those kinds of economic policies are things that we're going to absolutely address.
And we should point out that other organizations do this as well. It's not just the Latino caucus, it's unions, it's various organizations. So before people email and say, why should we hear what your wish list is, the governor-elect is hearing from everybody right now.
And I'll tell you, I'll give you, because you asked for policies, I'll give you some very specific examples of policies that help out communities as a whole, but also help out the Latino community and communities of color. The multicultural education bill, a bill that we could not get through a Republican-controlled Senate for 4 years, right? This is a bill that is supported by studies from Stanford University that when you implement these multicultural education legislation, it helps out all students across the board. GPAs go up, attendance, absentee rates go down, and we were trying to pass that. That would be a good example of an education bill that helps out everybody. economic bills, the contract disparity bill, which tells us where the state is spending its money and why there are disparities between white-owned businesses getting the huge bulk of the money, whereas women-owned businesses and people of color businesses, why they don't get the money at all. So that's another bill that could move forward that has a broad impact. We're talking about American Indians. Let's talk about the in-state tuition bill for American Indian students. We know that when we lift up certain groups, everybody gets lifted up, right? And that bill was considered a, one of the best feel-good bills of the session in 2014, which continues to fail in the Republican-controlled Senate. We're expecting a Democratic-controlled legislature and a governor to think well outside the box in passing this legislation and stop thinking of it as being just a person of color bill. Environmental bills affect us just like they're affecting everybody else. Let's take a look at the issues of forced pooling, of setbacks, of things of that nature. I mean, that's what we're expecting. And also being represented in the executive branch.
Because that is one of the issues that you brought forward to Governor-elect Polis. Is he listening? Do you feel like your messaging was heard?
Go ahead.
I really do. And I think that we come into this legislative session with a new governor and a new General Assembly, really looking forward to being able to do good work on behalf of all Coloradans. And I expect a partner in Governor-elect Polis, and I want to make sure that the staff that he selects to help lead his administration are folks who are reflective of the diversity of this state and also share the values that we bring to the table as well, of wanting to ensure and promote opportunity for all communities, not just folks here in Denver, not just folks who maybe voted for him, but for folks across this state, because that's going to be critically important.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see. I know he's hiring as we speak, so we will see what
happens.
happens.
We'll know in 2 to 4 weeks.
Yes, you two will be watching for sure, as will we. We thank you so much for being here, both of you, Julie Gonzalez and Joe Salazar. Thank you.
Thank you. And
listen, if you ever have a question or a segment idea, just tweet us at Denver 7 Politics, or you can always watch today's segments anytime at thedenverchannel.com/Politics Unplugged. We're here and we are listening. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you back here next Sunday for another edition of Politics Unplugged.